Anyway, here we go with the audio sound bites. And yesterday I threw something out there, and I got a note, you do not know how you have blown things up. I said, what do you mean blown things up? Your comment about Jeb. I said, nobody said a word to me about that. Well, they wouldn't. I said, I've not seen this. No, it's not in the media, but you have got everybody. You blew it up to this. And all I said was, in talking about Kasich and the future of the GOP hanging on Ohio and the possibility we get to a contested convention and who runs the contested convention, folks, I'm here to tell you, if you don't think this is a possibility, you do not yet fully understand who we're dealing with here. The whole purpose for them in a contested convention is to get somebody other than Donald Trump or Ted Cruz. There's no other reason for one. A contested convention, as far as the establishment, they don't like either of these guys. They don't like Cruz. They don't like Trump. And yet they're pushing for a contested convention. Big whoop. A contested convention simply means you don't have a winner coming out of the primaries, so you have votes. First ballot, second ballot, third. Brokered is an entirely different thing, and that's what they ultimately want to do. They don't want to leave this up to votes. Certainly not of the voters. They want the grand poobahs and the power brokers at the convention's votes to determine the nominee. Stop and think for a second. If you think I'm all wet on this, and I realize many of you do, you think I've gone overboard in analyzing who these people are. Don't doubt me on this. Do not doubt me. I'll come up with an analogy or two if I have been unable to persuade you so far. But look, we have Trump, we have Cruz. Theoretically, if things hold, neither of them is going to show up in Cleveland with 1237. That could change, but as of now, Cruz would have to have an incredible run from here on out, and Trump would have to. The Kasich stays in there. He's going to take delegates from somebody. Cruz is going to take his share of delegates too. I mean, it's more likely that nobody gets 1237. Now, the Trump people have a scenario where they get right to it on the number, but I won't bother with you the intricacies of that right now. So we have this contested convention. What's the point if Trump? Let's just set up a hypothetical. Trump has 1,100. Cruz has 900. I'm making numbers up. Kasich has 164. Whatever he's got. One more delegate than he has now. Let's be generous. The magic number is 1237. Okay, so the theory that I've heard last night from all the smart money is, well, it's Trump's. I mean, you can't not give it to him. For crying out loud, there'd be a riot. There'd be a walkout. Oh, my God, it would be horrible. You can't not give it to Trump. Really? Well, why have a contested convention? If you're going to give it to whoever shows up with the most delegates, even if they're short of 1237, if that person's going to win it, then what's the big deal? The big deal is it will be an opportunity for the establishment boys, and there's some women in there too, by the way, to get one of theirs in there. And yesterday I suggested it could be Jeb. Jeb's who they had their early fantasies about. Jeb started out with $115 million. Jeb Bush, back on December 12th of 2014, said the strategy was to win the nomination by winning the general, by losing the primaries. Remember that? He's going to win the general by losing the primaries, meaning he was going to swamp everybody with money. He wasn't going to have to kowtow to the Republican conservative base, meaning he wouldn't have to kowtow to guns. He wouldn't have to kowtow to immigration. He wasn't going to have to kowtow to social issues. He was going to snake right past all. He's going to get well, that would be how he does it. Contested convention turns into a brokered convention, and the establishment boys say, well, you know what? Neither Trump nor Cruz got close enough. It's wide open, man. And they engineer their... So I said that yesterday. That's when I got the note. You blew things up. But I didn't know it. Nobody else did. Here's an example of it. It was on CNN. America's Choice 2016. Anderson Cooper talking with David Axelrod and the Forehead. Paul Begala, about the Trump presidential campaign, and they got around to talking about this.
I disagree with you that the establishment will never give up. I think if Donald Trump is close, if he's in the 45 to 50 range, I think they're going to be resigned to the reality of this thing. To deny a guy who's right on the doorstep of claiming the nomination, you'd rip your party apart. Can you imagine that convention?
Rush Limbaugh was saying that Jeb Bush is going to come back, that he's going to be the one.
Many Republicans believe if they nominate Donald Trump, it'll destroy the Republican Party. Others believe that if they fight the nomination on the floor, it will destroy the Republican Party.
Did you note there that nobody said Limbaugh doesn't know what he's talking about? Did you note there that nobody said, oh, Limbaugh, see, that's crazy? Did you know that nobody said that? They kind of let it go right on by. Did you note, Axelrod, what they were talking about here? I disagree with you, probably Begala. I disagree with you that the establishment will never give up. I think if Trump is close, 45 to 50 range, I think they're going to be resigned to the reality to deny a guy who's, that's my whole point. You'd rip the party apart. No, they don't. That's not the concern. Ripping the party apart's not the concern. Well, it is, but secondarily, it's personal. It's what they would lose. And all I'm saying is they'll take advantage of every opportunity they can to hold on to what they have at the moment. You can see it. You can see it when you hear them talk on TV. They're thinking about whether they actually do it. Axelrod says down to nip and tuck time they wouldn't do it. But I guarantee you they're thinking about it. They're dreaming about it. They're strategizing about it. They are making sinister plans even as we speak to figure out how to hold on to what they've got. It's big, folks. It's huge. We're talking about an existence that 99.99999% of the American people will never have, will never enjoy, will never experience. You just don't throw that away. You just don't let it go without a fight. Here's an interesting bite. Now, this was on Squawk Box on CNBC this morning. Becky Quick speaking with a Republican National Committee Rules Committee member by the name of Curly Hugland about the primary race. And she said, hey, look, if Donald Trump heads into the nomination, maybe he's short of the number required. If you give it to somebody who has a much lesser percentage of voters who turn out for these primaries, don't you worry that you're just going to send chaos and anger into the Trump supporters and the people who feel like their votes then don't matter?
No, I don't think that's the case once it's, if it would just be understood. We have a problem with the media. Unfortunately, that's a problem. The media has created the perception that the voters will decide the nomination, and that's the conflict here. We're just one of the political parties. Political parties choose their nominee, not the general public, contrary to popular belief.
Folks, did you hear what you just heard? Did it sink in what you just heard? This is a Republican Rules Committee member. I guarantee he'll be walking this back at some point. But he's not going to walk back what he meant. Curly Hugland. No, I don't think that's the case. Once it's understood, once we explain to the people what's really at stake here, once we establishment poobahs, once we explain what's going on, they'll fully understand what we are doing. Our problem is the media. The media just doesn't give us a fair shake. It's a problem. The media has created a perception that the voters decide the nomination. The media focuses on these primaries and these election returns and the delegate allocations, and that doesn't mean anything. Political parties choose the nominee, not the general public, contrary to popular belief. Well, then, what is all this about? Is this just a scam for money to be spent and earned? Is that what this exercise is? Is the entire primary process nothing more than a fundraising and fund allocation effort? It's how the party gives back to the media with ad buys. It's how the consultants earn their money by being hired by the candidates, who then raise the money. The consultants devise the ad buys of which they get 15%. Is this how party members stay wealthy and stay connected while creating this illusion that the voter outcome actually determines things here? And folks, once you understand what I just said, once you understand what's really going on, you'll be fine with it. This is how your party remains relevant. And you want your party to remain relevant. But that's not the only one. Here's Bob Schieffer, brought back from the Jurassic Park graveyard for election coverage on CBS. Gayle King speaking with him on CBS this morning. She says, let's talk about John Kasich. He wins in his home state of Ohio, but it was close. It was close. He's considered the GOP establishment. What does that say when he has only won one race? He's barely won it in his home state. What does it mean, Bob? What's it mean?
All that says is that makes it a possibility that they can block Trump from getting a majority of delegates before they get to the convention. I think Paul Ryan will wind up as the nominee if they get it to the convention. I would bet that what would happen then if you had Paul Ryan as the nominee, he would put John Kasich on the ticket as the vice president. No Republican has ever won the presidency without winning Ohio.
All right, now here's a guy, Schieffer. He knows the establishment. He pals around with them. Even the Republicans, they all know each other. Got to take a break. But we will review this when we get back. Very good. You remember that name, Curly Huglen. He was the guy we talked about yesterday. He's North Dakota. He's the guy who said that delegates are not bound to vote the way their voters did on the first ballot. And he's out there still talking.